What my 37 male wife 35 female did during our separation makes me want to make it permanent. My wife and I have been married for 6 years at the time of writing. We do not have any children. In July of last year, tensions between us were at an all-time high. As an essential worker, I work the night shift and sleep during the day while she is at work. I am married and have 2 children. As a result of COVID, she was working from home and was quite loud. This kept waking me up and made me a very grumpy person, which I didn't like. As a result, I was, to be honest, extremely short with her, and she was completely unaccommodating to my needs. As a result, we were quite tense throughout the brief time we did spend together. It's usually a very joyous time of year, but we weren't able to take advantage of it in any way. In the end, we decided to try a trial separation, go to therapy individually for a few months, and then try couples therapy together after that. Because my employer was on the front lines, they offered to put us up in a hotel so that our families would not be at risk, so I took advantage of the opportunity and relocated. I inquired of my wife about ground rules. To be precise, my question was, so, as far as I understand it, are we seeing any other persons at this time? She responded in a rage, if that's the first thought that comes to mind, it's possible that it's not even worth it. My priority is to save our marriage, not to provide you with an opportunity to play games with me. I apologized and informed her that all I wanted to do was figure out where we were in relation to each other. As a result, I've been in treatment for the past year. I spoke with my manager and requested that my work shift be changed to the day shift because I had noticed that working the night shift was having a negative impact on my health. I've learned to be firm but also open and communicative, and not to keep things bottled up inside myself. I honestly feel so much better about myself as a person as a result of this experience. My wife and I began couples counseling at the beginning of this year, and it has proven to be really beneficial for us. We were both honest about what was wrong, both admitted that we had made mistakes, and both expressed a desire to make things right. After much deliberation, we decided that I would return to the house next month and put the separation behind me. During our most recent appointment, our counselor inquired as to whether or not I had entirely ended any relationships that I had formed while we were apart. I responded by saying, during our separation, I was not involved in any relationships. For the sake of our relationship's survival, we established ground rules that this wasn't about having a good time with other people, but rather about growing better. As my wife said, that was never a ground rule in the first place. In response, I recited back to her the words she had spoken. Well, I was just letting you know that shouldn't be your primary concern. Because if you were simply going to go around fooling around with random women and not striving to develop yourself, there was no use in attempting to salvage things, was there? I reacted by saying, so you were attempting to have it both ways by using ambiguous language. Did you ever have a romantic relationship? She indicated unequivocally that she had slept with 7 different guys over the course of the previous year, that this was absolutely okay, and that I was free to be with someone else if I so desired. She added that if I didn't want it, I should have made it very clear in advance. I argued that when I attempted to bring up the matter, she became enraged and shut down the conversation, and now she was attempting to rewrite history. I told her that at this point, I needed to consider if I wanted to move back in or even give it another shot because it was evident that she used the previous year as a free pass to sleep around on me. She tells me that I need to grow up and go on with my life. I reacted by saying, you see, that's where you're mistaken. Neither of those things are required of me. All that is required is that I get over you, which I believe will be the easier task following today's events. She is adamant that I am in the wrong about this, and that when you are separated, it is totally recognized that you are free to see other people as you choose. To be completely honest, this behavior, the weasel words, deliberately ambiguous statements, and the constant deflection, are the things that have caused me to lose my cool with her in the past, and the fact that it is still occurring is leading me to believe that I need to file for divorce and walk away. Is it possible that I'm making too much of this? I believe I have made significant progress in therapy, and I am confident that she has as well, but I am sickened by her every time I look at her. I have a strong suspicion that she has cheated on me, and I get really enraged. I'm not sure whether there's any way to move forward with her at this point. She keeps insisting that she did everything correctly, and that I should stop attempting to punish her for not exploring when I had the opportunity. Is it possible that I would be the worst person on the planet if I filed for divorce at this point? I have the impression that I am too close to this scenario and am unable to think clearly. What in the world am I supposed to do at this point? I've been trying for a year to mend my marriage, and I assumed she was doing the same. I'm beginning to believe that we've been working on opposite teams. Update. I've received a few requests for updates, and as much as I'm tired of this whole situation, I believe it's beneficial to get it out there. We've decided to get divorced. Our counselor approached me shortly after the huge revelation and offered to meet with me one-on-one. She said to me, "You need to take a break for your own health reasons. You've made tremendous strides and experienced numerous great improvements. This will not work unless both of you are attempting it and Tina is not attempting it. She'll keep bringing you back down, so you can't blame yourself for everything." Although she admitted to me that directing me what to do was wrong, she said she couldn't sleep for the rest of the night after concluding our session and seeing the look on my face afterward. It occurred to me that she's absolutely correct. This has been a time for me to grow and mature as a person, however, my wife has been using it as an opportunity to act like a teenager and maintain the dishonest gaslighting practices that have plagued our marriage for far too long. When I informed her that the game was ended, she burst into tears. Despite my pleas, she insisted that I not leave, telling me that I could use the time to get even with whomever I wanted. She also promised me she would never touch another man if I had been clear. I have to admit that I had a strong desire to say yes, since she reminded me of the woman I had been in love with again for a brief while. But it was only for a split second, and I knew we'd be back to our old ways of treading on eggshells and playing mind games in no time. I reminded her that we both deserved better than the people we had been to each other, and the fact that she believed I was seeking revenge and continued to hold me responsible for her actions indicated to me that she had not learned to be a better human being. She assured me that she would go to whatever length to make it work and inquired as to what I expected from her. My response was to tell her that I'd seen everything I needed to see from her, and that if she couldn't be better when divorce became a reality, she hadn't made the progress I had hoped she had made before that session ended. I've served her with divorce papers and am proceeding with the proceedings. Despite her repeated requests, I have declined to resume counseling sessions with her. I know it's the proper decision, but I'm torn between two opposing viewpoints. However, there's something inside me that believes what I'm doing is bad, despite the fact that I know it's the only way I'll ever be happy. Story 2. My husband only wants to have public anymore. Neither my spouse, 26M, nor I, 25F, have any other children. We are each other's only S, is that a word? When we say that, people assume we are prudish virgins, yet we are anything but. We've always had a strong emotional connection that went hand in hand with a strong physical connection between us. A bit TMI, but before we started dating, I used to spend the majority of my time doing nothing, and since the beginning of our relationship, we have been able to spend the majority of our time doing nothing. For the record, I'm stating this because it used to be true, at least until recently. It all started with him attempting to initiate in public, such as putting his hand up my dress while I was out to dinner with friends, jumping into the change room I was in while I was visiting a clothes store, and so on. This is where I draw the line as a person who enjoys a great deal of freedom. My underlying instinct, of course, is to do so, but I believe it is impolite to begin in public like this. We're both not particularly sensitive people. I laughed off the person who jackknifed next to me on the train, for example, despite the fact that it was a truly horrific thing to do, so I believe he doesn't understand why it's wrong. He's been doing it more and more and more, to the point where, for the first time in our relationship, he's rejecting me, and then attempting to initiate in front of others. It's evident that he's attempting to make me feel desperate enough that I'll do anything for him, but he ignores the fact that I'm trying to be a nice person with reasonable self-control. It's really offensive that he would do anything like this. In all honesty, it's quite upsetting to me, because I believe he's attempting to force me into having a child I don't want. When I've confronted him with this, he's been evasive, acting as if it's all part of a game I'm agreeing to even though I'm not. I've attempted to be serious about this, such as by making it plain that this is something that bothers me greatly, but he has refused to back down. One of the more serious responses I've had from him thus far is that I'm not being very entertaining. And he hasn't slowed down yet. He's always been determined to the point of stubbornness, which is a quality I've always liked in him, but it's a source of frustration in this situation. This has caused me to really reconsider our relationship, although I would not divorce him because of this. Are there any methods for convincing him to give up and understand what a fool he's become? Went through wife's phone as I had a suspicion, and I was right. It's my birthday too, by the way. I never expected to be posting here, but here I am. My wife has always pretended to friends and family that we don't check into each other's phones because we trust one another. What a shambles that was. She arrived home last night about 10 p.m., drunk as hell, and passed the hell out. I had grown suspicious recently because she had been walking naked from the bedroom to the bathroom and vice versa a lot more than usual. That isn't remarkable in and of itself, but she was also avoiding me and giving me strange looks while doing so. I knew she wouldn't wake up on her own for hours if she passed out while being hammered. I took advantage of the chance to say forget it and scratch this itch that had been gnawing at me, so I swiped her phone from her bag. I unlocked it and immediately went to Snapchat. Okay, she's been chatting to a guy, but there's still no proof. Then I checked her texts to see if she'd been messaging her dad, her stepfather, since she was 2 years old and all the way through her adolescence. He's been known to demand nudity from her in exchange for money, and she's been known to agree, although this was before I knew her. All texts were erased from 1:24 p.m. that day to 10 p.m. that night. At 1:24 p.m., her dad sent a message saying, "Looks like it's ready for Junior." Then she texted him, "Yes it is," to which he replied, "Well, I'm going to have to go rub one out." The rest of the messages were her drunken pleas for money, because she had racked up a $300 tab at the unofficial holiday party. This didn't seem right, so I went to her photographs and found nothing until I went to deleted pictures. At 1:22 p.m., I noticed a picture of her on her couch. I was just in the other room, flashing her. Pretend it's not true, say it didn't happen, only to discover it's worse. Every day for the last 30 days, I saw many explicit photos of her. The deleted file only holds pictures for 30 days. Keep in mind that I haven't received images from her in months, and when I have, they have never been as explicit as these. Then I noticed 2 naked photos of a guy our age who lives in our area, as well as 2 naked photos of her shot about the same time. I knew his girlfriend but not him, so I quickly texted his images to her and told her what had transpired. I snapped pictures of everything, and I mean everything, on my phone and proceeded to confront my wife with her phone. She was mumbling and denying everything, but while she was denying, she was simultaneously removing evidence from her phone. I walked from our house to my mother's house, which is on the same land. I spent my day playing with our 3-year-old daughter, fretting about what was going to happen, until I received a text from my wife at 2 a.m., just after my daughter had gone to sleep. Yes, my daughter has a messed up sleeping schedule, and yes, we're working on it. Also, because of work, my wife rarely sees our kid, and even when she does, she doesn't spend much time with her, saying we need to discuss. I went home thinking only about divorce. She begged and pleaded with me, stating she was turning into her mother, who suffers from bipolar disorder and a few other diseases. I've noticed my wife gradually developing the same issues, though not nearly as severe. Her mother was likewise a messed up parent who truly messed my wife up in the brain, though she was skilled at hiding it most of the time. She stated that she only wanted the attention, and that it was all about the images. She started cursing herself, crying, and begging me not to leave her. I'm not sure whether I can believe what she's saying, but nothing had changed except the strange nakedness, and she had still been treating me with all of the love in the world. However, if she loved me, why would she email nudes to other men, especially her father? She even said that she didn't get paid for any of it, and that she was only doing it for attention. I treat her like a queen, so she gets plenty of attention at home, and my drive is way higher than hers too. I have to think about my daughter here, because if I divorce my wife, she'll probably get the short end of the stick when it comes to custody here in Texas. They always seem to side with the mother unless they're on drugs, and she'll probably move in with her mother and her husband, which would severely disrupt my child's life. Also, her dad owns her mom's house, husbands, and he put it a rule years ago that I am not permitted over there under any circumstances, since he was envious and wanted her, or he will force them out. I know she loves me, and I can see she's sincere in her apology, but I can't guarantee she won't do it again. I made her block her dad and the F***K boy, and made it clear that if she ever contacted either of them again, or sent nudes to another man, I'd file for divorce right away. She believes I'm giving her another chance. I found her doing similar shady stuff 2 months into our relationship before we married, but I'm still on the fence about it all and don't know what to do. My primary concern here is my daughter. Furthermore, we both have solid jobs, so money isn't an issue. I've done nothing except adore her, and I've been hoping for the same for a long time. So here we are at 11 a.m., practically on my birthday, and I couldn't sleep the night before, so I'm still awake and have been for almost 24 hours. I'm not exhausted either, I just can't sleep any longer. She didn't sleep either after our conversation, and I can tell it's upsetting her, yet, it didn't stop her from going to get her hair done. I'd want to wish you a very happy birthday. Sorry for the lengthy article, there's a lot to untangle here, and there's a lot more to this, but I'm not writing a novel here. Story 2. Had an affair, but she did not reciprocate my feelings for her when I want to take things seriously. Let me start off back in time when I was 6 months into getting over a breakup with a woman. I had a relationship for 4 years. It was a relationship due to her religion, and I sometimes regret why I let myself stay on that kind of relationship for that long. Maybe because I was afraid of being single. Due to my clear lack of interest in the relationship, the constant strain in our relationship forced her to finally break up with me. Honestly, I was sad at first, but at the back of my mind and my heart, I was truly relieved from finally getting away from a relationship I no longer want to be in. For 6 months, I made the most out of the fact that I was now single again. Went out more with friends, go to drinking sprees without having any restrictions from a partner, and did a lot of stuff I was not able to enjoy when I was still tied up with my now ex-girlfriend. After 6 months of enjoying my freedom, I decided it was time to get back into the game again. It's time that I should date someone again, since I was able to clean my feelings from my ex. I tried my hand at casual dating and tried to introduce myself to women that I have been interested in for the longest time. I dated 2 women and my initial plan was just to casually go on dates and ultimately sleep with them and call it a day. Turns out, I'm not really built for the casual dating scene. I realized that I was more of the serious relationship kind of guy. I tried sleeping with one of the women I was casually dating, and after we have done the deed, guilt crept up to me because I would eventually dump this woman since I already had my way with her. I felt extreme pity towards her, knowing that I just used her for a casual, and she may have earnestly invested her emotions towards me. The next morning as we woke up, I asked her if we could go steady, and it was the most queasy feeling I had felt for months. I know in myself that I truly do not want her to be my girlfriend, but at the same time, I am racked up with guilt with the fact that I initially planned to just use her as a casual to get me through the night. That was the beginning of our relationship. Since I was already in the situation, I did my best to make her feel loved and cared for, and did what any good boyfriend would do in a healthy relationship. I admit at first, I was only doing it out of my conscience, and I was just trying to appease my guilt for trying to her as a warm body to get me through the night. However, as the months have passed, my love for her grew, and my gestures and emotions become more and more authentic. The next 2 years with her was a roller coaster fun ride. After several years of being in a celibate relationship, I was finally able to get all the I wanted, when I wanted. Mind you, she has a well-endowed body, and could satisfy a man if she wanted to. She gave me everything a girlfriend could, and I could not want for more. Our life was pretty active up to the point we had to deal with the possibility that she might be pregnant. When this happened, I was so worried and anxious because I was not ready for that kind of commitment yet. Having an offspring was never part of my plan. Turns out, she just had PCOS, causing her periods to become irregular. After all has been said and done, we still have a healthy relationship after this, and we tried to keep our life in the down low to avoid having to deal with unexpected pregnancy scares again. At this point in time, I asked myself, would I want to continue this relationship? Would she be the one that I would like to marry? Aside from hitting it off on that one fateful night, I realized that we really do not have many things in common. I felt that there was really this gap in our relationship that could not be filled. We never had really big and bad arguments or issues during our relationship, but in the back of my head, there is this gap in our relationship that could not seem to be bridged because of how she is as a person and her overall character. I have nothing against her, but in terms of her personality, there really is something missing that I cannot put a finger into that makes me not want to push further with the relationship. Despite these thoughts, I continued on with the relationship as is, even though it's starting to get a little bit stale. It came to the time that I had to transfer to a new company with greener pastures. She and I worked at the same company, and she stayed with the company I used to work for where I met her. After several months working for this new company, I met a woman who shared my interests and hobbies, and we were both take up drawing as a hobby. I made some efforts to get to know this woman and befriended her. We got really close and we communicated every day to the point that I already felt guilty because of the frequency of our communications. Unfortunately, she was currently in a relationship with another coworker and she was just being discreet about it. Despite that fact, I felt something was special was between the two of us, like a spark if you will. Given our common interests, it was easy to start up a conversation with her, and it felt like there was really something more to our friendship. It came to the point that I admitted that I was already falling for her despite we are both in a relationship. After that, she also admitted that she was feeling something for me, which is more than friendship. With this established, we started to date in secret, and I was really able to get close to her. In a span of a few months, our little affair went deeper up to the point that we have spent intimate nights together, all when we are still both in a relationship. During the time that we are having an affair, she mentioned to me that her boyfriend seemed to have been neglecting her as of late. After a few months of having an affair with her, I started to ask her that I wanted to take this on another level and wanted to go stable with her. Given the situation with her boyfriend and my current relationship growing stale, it would have been a win-win situation for the both of us if we broke up with our current relationships and up together. You would not have another man/woman on the side if you are satisfied with your current relationship, right? Wrong. Boy, I was so wrong. After expressing my intentions to our relationship into a more serious level, she informed me that she does not wish to end her current relationship with her boyfriend. By this time, I was already fully emotionally invested in her. I was so into her up to the point that I thought that she could have been the one that I would finally marry. Truthfully speaking, out of all the girlfriends that I had, she was the first one that made me seriously consider marriage. I was so deeply in love with her that I am willing to give her an offspring, something I repeatedly told myself I did not want if ever I would have gotten married. I tried to negotiate with her and did my best to make her feel that I was a better fit for her compared to her boyfriend who was constantly neglecting her. But alas, she was dead set on maintaining her relationship with her current boyfriend. No matter what I say or do, her decision was final and unchanging. Since I was so deeply in love and emotionally invested in her, I jumped the gun and broke up with my current girlfriend in a hasty attempt to show her that I was dead serious about getting in a serious relationship with her. However, this did not sway her decision and she stuck with her original man and said to me she was just sad and lonely during the time we had an affair, and when those feelings have passed, she still ultimately wants to return back to her boyfriend. This left me broken, devastated, and without a relationship. I have lost it all for being a cheat. I couldn't bear the fact that I would be losing contact with her, so I decided to be her friend. She reluctantly agrees and said it would be very difficult for me, especially since I still have feelings for her. After being accepted in her life further as a friend, I was able to maintain communication with her despite the pandemic breaking out, forcing us all on lockdown. After the lockdown was eased, I was able to get to know her family and was even visiting her at their home. It came to the point that I was so close to her sisters and her cousins that I always welcome at their home if I wish to visit. Her family is very kind to me and makes me feel welcome whenever I go there to visit them. However, in the end, that's all I was to her, a family friend. No matter how close I got to her family or to her, I was ultimately just a friend. Despite the good treatment I was getting, it's not sitting well with me that this is all that I could be, a family friend and nothing more. On a side note, her boyfriend has not even visited her or met her family yet due to his personal family circumstances, which prevents him from visiting her. For me, that it's utter, and if you really wanted to be with someone and spend some time with them, you will make way for it on your schedule instead of making excuses. As of now, I am still stuck hoping that the direction of the wind will change in my favor, and everything that I have worked for would come to fruition. After almost 2 years of being in this kind of situation, I am still getting frustrated when I see her communicating with her boyfriend or whenever she shuts me down when I make subtle attempts to romance her. What should I do in this kind of situation? I am really torn up about the state of things, but at the same time, I wanted to move forward with my life. There are a lot of times that I wish I could just cut off all ties and communications with her and her family to end this all, but the bright lure of something might still happen in my favor pulls me back every time. I'm stuck with thinking that if I gave up now, I might still be able to get what I want if I continued to persist further. During the time that we were having an affair, I was able to procure some photos and videos of our relationship. As my ultimate backup plan, if she ended up still getting proposed to for marriage by his current boyfriend, I'm planning to send the photos and videos as well as the conversations of our affair to her boyfriend to incriminate her and finally get back at her for not choosing me. I decided on this action plan because I am not willing to be her friend if she still marries that guy. At this moment, I think this is the only thing that would appease me if it comes to the point that they both decide to tie the knot. I know this will entail a lot of trouble and losing the friendship and relationship I have with her family, but I don't want her to walk out of this scot-free. Somehow, I needed to get back. What are your opinions or advice about this? Please share your thoughts so that I could be enlightened further. Should I continue maintaining a good friendship with her, and if it still turns south, carry out my plan to get back at her? Thanks in advance for the advice.